Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this town hall with the School of Nursing. My name is Thomas Johansen, and I will be your host today. In a second here, I'll share my screen, and we will get going with our panelists who are here representing the School of Nursing. I know this is a trying time for everybody, so thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to come and see us today, and then hopefully we can get a lot of your questions answered and give you guys a little more certainty on what things will look like in the fall. There is a ton of resources available to you for this upcoming fall semester. In this session, we will talk about what the School of Nursing has when it comes to teaching and academics. This is not the place for questions regarding visas and your application. If you do have questions related to your application, please do reach out to iapply@tru.ca for your undergraduate inquiries. And if you have questions regarding our master programs, it would be igrad@tru.ca. Any other question, please send it to welcome@tru.ca. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce you to our panelists. Make this full screen here. First off, we have Rani Srivastava, the Dean of Nursing, and we have Elizabeth Anderson, Associate Professor and Coordinator of the Master Programs with the School of Nursing. So I'll let Rani introduce herself first.
Okay. Good morning, everybody, and I am delighted to be participating in this conversation with all of you. And it's just, I'm looking forward to meeting you virtually, and really looking forward to meeting you in person, hopefully not in the too distant future, although we know that it's going to take a little bit of time. I just wanted to share a couple of things with you at the outset. And you know what, I'm new to the School of Nursing as well here in Thompson River University and to Kamloops. So it's been a wonderful journey for me for the past 6 months. And I can tell you that everybody is fantastic. The school, the university, and the city itself has been extremely welcoming, and I think is really supportive to both students and faculty, I have to say, and myself coming in as dean. You know, our School of Nursing is built on a very solid undergraduate foundation. It has strong roots, it has excellent reputation, excellent relationships in the community, and our graduate program is just building on that. And I think that's true for the university. So our master's program is relatively newer in the sense that it's about now, I think, 4 years old. And the faculty, I'm just so impressed with how committed they are to supporting student learning, to supporting students, to think about what it means to be a graduate student, what it means to be an advanced practice nurse. So I think you will find that opportunity, you know, really stimulating and supportive. Our program was always designed to be a blended learning program. And I think right now the current situation has just accelerated that. And I know Elizabeth will be able to tell you more about what people have been doing. And we had an opportunity to try, you know, have the online learning. I mean, TRU has a strong foundation with our open learning around alternate delivery, virtual delivery. And so over the spring and summer, we were able to do some scrambling and change our mode of delivery. And the summer is just giving us lots of really good time. So faculty are working very hard to plan learning experiences that will allow people, no matter where you are, to be able to be participating, to have a rich experience. And I think you'll find that really valuable. The faculty also totally understand, and I've been so impressed by all of the conversations, they're committed to recognizing that all students coming into graduate school, whether you are domestic or international, but particularly international, it's important to also find support for students outside of the classroom. And I think that's one of the things that I think TRU has a lot of strength in, is between TRU World, what the university offers and what the faculty will be able to do is recognizing the needs for support, camaraderie, collegiality, and lots of effort and thinking is going in to making sure that how do we create that in an online environment? So I think you'll find that really positive. So with that, I'm going to stop and invite other conversation and look forward to being a part of this conversation and looking forward to having you in our school.
Thank you very much, Rani. That was great. Elizabeth?
Hi there. I'm the Master of Nursing Coordinator, which means that I sort of oversee the program and work with all of the professors who will be teaching you. And I will actually be teaching one of your first courses in the Master of Nursing program in the fall. And so we're really looking forward to meeting all of you who are going to be joining us. And as our dean mentioned, normally we have a blended program, which is a little bit of face-to-face and some recorded sessions. But this year, it's going to be 100% by distance. So you'll be able to study and complete the courses wherever you may be. And all you will really need is just a working computer, access to the internet, and a desire to learn at a graduate level. That's all you need. So we're working very hard to make our courses accessible to you, and there will be a mixture of times where you will log in at home and you'll be able to see us just like this Zoom meeting. We call it Big Blue Button, but it will be just like this. And there'll be other times when you just look at and read, and there'll be recorded lectures for you. So that's the way the courses will be set up, and we're very much looking forward to seeing you. Also, we have a special person who is a graduate student he'll be in his second year now. He's going to be a kind of a go-to person for you personally. He's called a mentor, and his name is Uzi, and he will be there so that he can communicate with you and answer any sort of other questions that you might not feel comfortable asking some of your professors. So we have Uzi as well, who will be available to you.
That's great. Thank you, Elizabeth. So now we will move into the Q&A section. We will first have a number of preset questions that are kind of commonly asked questions. After that, we will open it up. We will try and take some video calls from our participants here so they can be allowed to ask questions in person. If you're not comfortable doing that, please leave your questions in the chat box and I will read them out loud. So our first question is, can you please clarify which courses will be delivered virtually and which will be face-to-face or blended? So which of the programs require some kind of on-campus component, if any?
Shall I answer that, Rani? In the fall, we are going to be completely virtual. So there will not be any face-to-face in the fall. We may have some face-to-face a little bit in the winter session, which starts January to April, but even that is undecided yet. So in the fall, it's completely decided that we will be all virtual, and including our orientation session on September 8th, that will be virtual as well.
And that's for the master program.
Mm-hmm.
Is it different for the undergraduate programs?
Sure, I can answer that.
Thank
For
you.
the undergraduate programs, because nursing is a practice discipline, all of our theory courses will be virtual, 100% virtual. But we do have some labs and some practicum where students will be coming on campus to be able to do some skills learning. So anything we can do by virtual or simulation, and there's also some fantastic simulation work that the faculty are doing, developing as well as tapping into other colleagues across the country. But they will be face-to-face in small groups in our lab. And our students will also be in practicum as we go along. And again, in small groups with the appropriate guidelines.
Fantastic. So for the first semester, for the practical nursing program and the Bachelor of Nursing, they need to be in Canada in September to take part in that program.
Yes, they do.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Question number 2, and I think we have 2 parts here. So first part of the question would be, why should I study virtually and what are the advantages of virtual learning? So I think we've already touched a little bit on that. Maybe we can expand a little bit more. We heard from a student at the beginning what advantages she took from it. And then the second part here will be, what will the online delivery look like? And can you describe what the virtual learning experience look like? So let's take the first part. Why should they start virtually and what is the advantages to starting virtually?
So I'll start it off and then I'll ask Elizabeth to sort of add to that, and she can talk much more knowledgeably about what the online delivery will look like. So I think, the advantages of virtual learning, and you heard that a little bit, is that it makes the program more accessible. You can, we know nursing, and especially at the graduate level, is a program where it's predominantly female and male. Actually, we have a good representation of men in nursing as well. But by the time most nurses are coming from graduate school, they also have, many of them will have a lot of other demands on their life, whether it's family, children, and even if you're just working as a practitioner, that's very demanding and it's very busy. And the schedules are not so set, right? It's because it's shift work. And so the advantage of virtually, and that's why our program was designed right at the get-go with access in mind, that says we know different students will be off at different times. And so we needed to create the opportunity for them to be able to learn on their time. So when they can focus and not feel pressured and rushed about trying to pay attention to class when you have a million other things going on at the same time. So those are the advantages. And I think right now what that's doing is really looking at the distance part. So, you don't have to be in Kamloops, you don't have to be in Canada. You can start regardless of where you are. And I know, and Elizabeth can tell you more about this, but even as we're looking at the admissions process, really recognizing that, the time differences across the country. Canada is such a big country that we're always mindful of time differences anyway. And we know that that just gets magnified at the international level. So again, the conversations, the thinking that goes into when should we plan a group chat, have we thought about the time differences? Those are things that are automatically thought about and not something that a student has to worry about adding on after. People will ensure and will ask you. And if somebody forgets, then by all means raise that, because we know we're very cognizant of that. So I think the biggest advantages are, you do it on your time, at your pace, in a way that's most comfortable for you. Elizabeth?
Great.
So I teach both in the undergraduate and the graduate program. So I'm setting up online course for the undergraduate as well as the graduate program. What an online course usually looks like is a series of modules. And each module is usually equivalent to 1 week of that you would normally be on campus. And in the module, you would have some articles that you might read, or a chapter that you might have to read, and there might be a recorded a lecture for you that you have to click on. And some of the professors are making sure that they have closed captions there, so you can watch the recorded lecture at any time of the day or night, on the weekend if you want, at 2 o'clock in the morning if you want, and even you don't even need the sound on because the closed captions are most likely going to be there for you. So that's really good. So those kinds of modules are called asynchronous, meaning that you just do them whenever you want to, you access that content whenever you want to access that content. Then there are going to be other modules that contain components called synchronous sessions. And in a synchronous session, that's when you have to log in at a particular time, just like you're logging into Zoom, and you can see your classmates there and the professor, and you might have to do a presentation, or a guest speaker might be speaking, and or you might have to join a discussion group or something like that, but that would be synchronous. And so we're making very particular, in the graduate program, we're very particular about having small groups. So if I have a big class, that would be divided up into small groups for those synchronous sessions. And we would make the time so that it's compatible with your time, so that you wouldn't have, if you're in Africa, you would not have to log in at 3 o'clock in the morning, your time, for example. We're going to make the times, so we will, that fit you. So we will collaborate with you to make a time that fits well with you, within reason for us, right, too?
Mm-hmm.
So you will have assignments. You'll in the modules, you might have what's called a little Dropbox, and you have assignments. You access the library online, you write your papers, and or do whatever tasks you have for that week. You drop them into the online Dropbox, and then your professor marks those. You may have some online exams in the graduate program or the undergraduate program. I think, have I covered everything? I think so.
Yeah, I think that was great. I don't know if you can touch upon kind of services out of the classroom. Are there office hours, virtual office hours? How would they access library or print material, reading material in general?
So the library, you would just log into the library because you have access to the library at any time of the day or night, 24/7. The library is accessible. As a student, you pay tuition, and part of your tuition goes to the library. So it's a huge benefit to you, our library. And we have 161 databases in our library, which is amazing. And so our library offers an infinite number of resources. The, sorry, my phone is, let's see what else. I got off track because my.
Yes. So regarding office hours, can somebody come see a professor?
Yes. So office hours, if so, for a undergraduate class, we have office hours where the students can log in virtually using Big Blue Button, and we are there for a particular time, which is usually in that particular spot where the class is normally held if it's face-to-face. So if I normally have a class on Friday from 8:30 to 10:30, that's when my virtual office hours would be, and I would just be there. So that's how we're kind of monitoring the office hours for the undergraduate. For the graduate, it's more by appointment. So when you want to talk to your professor, you would just email your professor, and we'll set up a time to talk virtually like we are talking now.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And when it comes to technical specification, is there anything that needs to be in place, or if they can attend this meeting, they can attend the class as well? And if they do have issues, are there support services that they can access, technical support services?
Certainly. So every student who is enrolled in our programs will be having their courses on what's called learning technology, called Moodle platform. And there you can see all of your courses. You can click on any course that you want. You see all your courses. And there's a big IT services department here, which they're really, really helpful. And so really all you need is the internet and a working computer that has a camera in it so that we can see you, right? So yeah.
Perfect. All right.
Also, the headsets, just a completely basic set of headset is sometimes useful, because sometimes when you're in a group session, there's an echoing that goes on. So sometimes people can hear you better, and you can reduce that echo if you wear a headset, just like Thomas is wearing. However, you don't need to feel that you must use the headset, because sometimes if you're not talking, you just mute yourself, and that reduces the echo too. But if you get a basic headset like Thomas is wearing, that helps a lot too.
Great, thank you very much. Let's jump to question number 3 here. And I think we've already touched upon it a little bit, but this is obviously of great interest to some of our students around the world, seeing that we are on different time zones. So I don't know if there's any more we can say about the difference between synchronized and asynchronized delivery. And is there any consequences if they really can't attend those synchronized sessions? Will they be able to pick up a lecture down the road?
Shall I talk, Ronnie? Yeah, usually the synchronous sessions, they're mandatory, really. So
Okay.
if we try not to have very many synchronous sessions that are mandatory, but usually when in a synchronous session, that means when you log in at a particular time and other people can see you, it's because there's a guest speaker or because you're actually presenting. You're required to present something to your classmates. So it's really not a good idea to make it a habit of missing those, although we can record it. Often it's for marks. So the synchronous sessions are few in number. We try to make it as flexible, as nimble as possible by having as much asynchronous or do it whenever you want kind of modules. But sometimes the synchronous portions we'll time them so that it's easier for you to access, but they're pretty important. If we feel that there's a synchronous session, it's usually pretty important that you attend.
Terrific. And Rani, what does that look like for the undergraduate? For the stuff that is virtual, is it all asynchronous or?
I think for the undergraduate, it'll be, again, very similar as Elizabeth is saying, the majority will be asynchronous. There may be some synchronous portions to the theory classes as well, because again, we really use all kinds of learning and because we know people learn differently. So there's a lot of active and experiential learning. And so if, as Elizabeth was saying, you know, there's group work and there's a group presentation, and that will happen at the undergraduate level as well in some of the classes, then that portion will need to be synchronous because students need to be able to interact in real time. Just like in a conversation or in a discussion item, right? Learning happens not just by what you're reading, but when you say it out loud and you see how somebody else responds to that, or you hear somebody say something in that moment, aha, a little light goes on, and you think, oh, that's it. Or you think, oh, I don't know, this is not making sense. So that kind of group work happens across our program in undergraduate as well. And there will be some synchronous. But it's very clear, as Elizabeth said, our commitment is to go as much asynchronous as possible without compromising learning. And so it really is based on, if we have a synchronous portion, lots of questions have gone into why do we have a synchronous portion? What is unique about it learning? And we're pretty clear we cannot do it asynchronous, which is why we've chosen. So it's the exception, but it will be there in the undergraduate program as well.
Terrific, thank you. Can you guys just touch a little bit about on how do you register for courses and what is the course schedule like? Both mainly for the master program, but if there's any differences for the undergrad, that would be great to hear as well.
Elizabeth, I'll hand this over to you.
Okay. I believe that the IT services, they have created courses for us now where students are automatically registered in those courses. Last year, it used to be that it was much more of a more difficult process to register for courses. You needed, for international students, you needed permissions to register. That said, if you have any difficulties at all registering for courses, you just email me or email our administrative assistant named Sherry Resler. She is very, very nice, and we fix the problem. So in the graduate program, we've never had anybody not be able to get into a course because we create the course big enough so that everybody can have access to that course. And usually a graduate student has 2 courses is considered, 2 3-credit courses is considered full-time. So a graduate student would have 2 courses in the fall semester from September to December, and then 2 courses in the winter semester, which is January to April. And those courses are pretty much set. Everybody takes those courses, and if you're full-time, that's what you would be taking. And it's different in the undergraduate program, of course, but registration should be very easy this year because the IT services is making specific, everybody will have a course that they should be automatically registered in. You shouldn't need a password or anything like that. So hopefully that process will go easier, but if you have any difficulties at all, you just email us and we'll sort it out for you.
Thank you very much. And they'll be able to see the courses that they're registered in My TRU. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Very good.
I'm not, I'm not an expert on that
Sure.
registration stuff.
No problem. Rani, is there any difference for undergraduate students when it comes to course registration that they should know about?
No, it's pretty similar because our program is set. It doesn't have the same amount of, picking and choosing which courses. In the undergraduate program, there will be some electives across the program. But again, I think the way it will be, especially for new students, we ask the students, to wait until the faculty will contact them. And as Elizabeth said, our admin, coordinators are excellent, our program support people, and they will help the students navigate to say, this is what you need to do to register if there is anything that still needs to be done. And they're also the point of contact. So pretty similar to what Elizabeth said for graduate program.
Okay, great. Let me jump to question number 5 here. What kind of support is faculty offering for students studying virtually? So we've already touched upon this a bit. Is there anything else that we haven't mentioned? So can you talk a little bit more maybe about that graduate student and what his role is for the master program? You mentioned there's going to be a mentor.
Yeah, in the graduate program we have Uzi. Uzi is going to have, what I'm doing is creating, Uzi's going to have his own course shell. It's hard to describe, but it's a place where you can go for the graduate students and talk to your colleagues, your other students, and talk to Uzi, who is a student himself. He's a current student. He's in 2nd year now. And without the oversight of us. So it's much more of a kind of a social place to ask any questions you might want to ask. And Uzi can also direct you if you need. There's all kinds of supports that are available at Thompson Rivers, writing supports. There's small courses for 1 credit that you can take to help your writing. And there's the writing center that you can go and submit your papers to and ask them to help you refine your papers before you submit them to your professor. And there's all sorts of library services that you can go to and ask the librarian, how do I find articles on this subject or that subject? And you can just log in and ask for an appointment at a virtual appointment with we have our own librarian. And so specifically for nursing, so you can, his name is Mr. Purcell, Mr. Michael Purcell, and he is wonderful to go, if you have to write a paper for your course, he will support you in finding articles that you need to write your paper. So there's the writing center, there's the Uzi, who's more of the social and the getting together and asking any questions that you might want to ask. And then there's the library too. So, and there's also the Wellness Center as well. The Wellness Center offers support if you're feeling lonely or homesick or having other sorts of issues. There's the Wellness Center as well. So
great. Thank you. Is there anything for undergraduate students that's different from that? And is the new nursing building open for September? A
yes.
Fantastic facility.
Yes, we have We have a fantastic new building. I should have actually brought a picture, but anyway, we'll try and get information on our website soon.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we are excited because the faculty are busy packing right now. We're expected to move into the building in July. So the building will be, we will be in our new space for the fall term. And it's too bad students can't physically be there. I think our undergraduate students will be in the lab. It has the state-of-the-art lab, both in terms of a low fidelity and a high fidelity. So all kinds of fantastic things for learning for our students. So yes, it will be open, and we do expect to be using it. And I think for the other part of the program, I mean, the school, there's lots of support for students, again, as Elizabeth said, both in terms of through student affairs. Like, again, I find that TRU really prides itself, and I can see good reason why, of being very student-centered. And so there's a lot of support for students through different parts of the university. We, in the undergraduate program, the students are trying to look at some mentorship for the younger, for the newer students coming in. There's also lots of clubs and societies. So the Nursing Undergraduate Society, or NUS, they do a lot of work in terms of ensuring peer support for students. As a dean, I have liaison meetings with all of the aspects of the program. So we meet regularly. So there's a representative from each of the years that meets regularly with the university, with me on a monthly basis, but also we get to know each other. So they'll often email me, or students will email me if there's a concern, but the reps are also a really good way of being able to look at it. So we also have another nursing. So there are lots of groups that undergraduate students can be, and graduate students, but students can be a part of. And I think those also another opportunity to connect with people who have an interest similar to yours. You can share questions, you can share concerns, you can get involved and share your expertise, because we know students have a lot to offer. And virtually that'll look different, because they often will organize webinars or a conference or events. But again, and the students are already reaching out to me to say, can we plan something? Can we do it this way? So lots of opportunity to connect with others, and which is sort of both social and professional.
Fantastic. And I think we have a picture of the new nursing building here coming on in a second, so we can just we can show off just a little bit.
We're very excited. All the faculty and staff have had tours, and it's beautiful. Designed with students in mind, so the best views are where the students will be, right, in our learning classroom. So the only danger is students will be looking out the window and not paying attention, but that's okay. It's a lovely learning environment.
Give me 1 second here. Oh, maybe we'll just jump to the next question while we get the picture up. So one question we get a lot is, how would midterm examination and final examinations work for students when they are doing it remotely? And I don't know if you have a lot of experience with this just yet, but
I can start. And again, I think each course is looking at differently, but we are looking at all different ways of assessing, recognizing that with midterms and final exams is not the only way to assess student learning. So that's the first thing I will say. And I think, so I'm talking in general terms, the specific courses, and you will see that when you start on the course outline, what the expectations are. Faculty are doing a number of things in terms of some of the midterms and finals. They're either looking at it in terms of allowing students to do take-home exams. So it might be to say, the exam is open from this time to this time, and you are able to consult your books and your literature and that kind of thing. Because a lot of it is getting people to think and apply what they're learning. So depending on the course, that can happen. There may be some exams, particularly final exams in some of the courses, and we're working through that to see. There are some learning, softwares where there are proctored kinds of exams, and we're trying to look at those as well in terms of what that might be an option. So I can't give you a definitive answer on final exams, or it may, yet, but they will be minimum, and there may be some synchronous time frame where it says, okay, this is the time the exam's open, and it's only open for 2 hours or 3 hours. But generally, we're looking for different ways of allowing that to happen.
Okay, great. Is that about the same for the master program, Elizabeth?
Yeah, similar to what our dean has said, in a master's course, you will have varied ways of being assessed. Usually there's a paper, some sort of presentation, and some of the courses, I know our course will have an online exam. So
okay.
And there's also discussions that graduate students have to take part in. So participation in discussions is also quite often part of the assessment in a graduate course. Participation and ability to discuss and between yourselves and discuss with the your professor. So.
When we look at our undergraduate programs, obviously there are practicum components there. I don't know if there's either the practical nursing or the Bachelor of Nursing has a first-year practicum, but has there been any impact in that way, getting out in a healthcare facility for our practical nursing students?
We do have practicums, throughout every year of the program, and for the undergraduate program and practical nursing. And we've been working very closely, constant conversation with our practice settings to see. Generally, people are very welcoming. There may be some sites that are limiting the number of students that they take, and there will be some sites where the size of the group is smaller. So we are looking for different kinds of learning experiences if people don't have, just to try to look at it. But otherwise, we expect, again, we're working very, very closely with our practice partners. There will be the requirements in terms of, the social distancing, all of the guidelines. We may have masks that we ask people to wear. For example, in our lab, we will be asking our students to wear masks, as well faculty. And, good cleaning, ensuring all of the infection control protocols are. So the learning experiences do look a little different because of all of these additional demands, but we expect to have access to most of our clinical facilities as we would in any other year.
Great. I will jump to the next question here, and I think we will wait till the end of the presentation to pull up a picture of the new nursing building. But just one last question here, and then we'll open it up to the floor. I can see questions coming in. So just to end it here, why should I plan to enroll in fall 2020 instead of winter 2021? So I guess for the undergraduate programs, that's self-explanatory, as there's no intake.
Yeah.
For winter 2021, but Master of Nursing, is there a winter intake?
No.
Again, so that's pretty straightforward why you should start in fall of 2020. I guess the option could potentially be to postpone it to summer, fall of 2021.
That would be the option if people, because we only have one intake, and part of that is because of the nature of our program. It's sort of designed in a way that one term builds on the other. And again, a lot of thought has gone into that building. So even with a graduate program, it's very difficult to do the winter semester, for example, because the courses that are happening in the fall are really the foundational courses, right? It's the building block. And so we know from talking with students and from faculty's experience that they need this kind of a setting to get started so that the subsequent courses will build on that. And so that's why that's one limitation. So if fall 2020, for whatever reason, doesn't work out, then it'll have to be fall 2021, unfortunately.
Except for practical nursing, which runs every 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Let's open it up. There we go. Here is our new nursing and population health building. So you're saying you guys are moving in July?
We are. And what you'll notice is that if you notice the glass on the outside and you notice the space, one of the things that has struck everybody is the amount of light that comes into the building. So it is spacious, it's big, it's bright. And as I said, really a lot of thought has gone into it with students in mind and what makes a great learning environment. So if you can see those buildings sort of on the left-hand side of the screen, and the right hand, actually, on both ends of the building, a lot of glass. And TRU is beautiful, as you can see by, the background on my thing. So the setting is beautiful and a very calm, relaxing learning environment. Lots of light coming in. Very close to, there will be a cafe in the building as well. So lots of little things that I think will make it a great learning environment.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. It's a beautiful building. So let me just have a look at our chat box here for a second and see which kind of questions we have.
And I started to answer a couple of them, but I think it'll be better to have a dialogue than me trying to answer them in the chat box.
Sure, that would be great. Let's see. When can we know if we've been accepted to the program, because I haven't received my CLOA? So I'm not sure, this is from Randall, so I'm not sure which program you applied for, Randall, but please do reach out to if it is a graduate program, to igrad@tru.ca to follow up on the application, or if it's an undergraduate program, to iapply@tru.ca. And we will try to track down your application and figure out what the issue may be. Then we have another one from Tricia here. Hello, how do I know which materials to get for the Master of Nursing program? Will I get a literature list once I am registered for the courses? Thanks.
And Thomas, I started to respond to that one for Tricia. So
okay.
There is, and I put it in here to say that you'll say is each course will have a Moodle site or a virtual space that is for that course. So you see all of the students that are in the course and all of the course information, including the outline, schedule, required readings, and often people, faculty in the library will help us put the links to the readings. So you can just click on that and access the readings. So all of that information will be made available to you through the course that once you enroll in them. And I'll let Elizabeth add to that.
I'll just add to that because I know Tricia is a graduate student. Usually for graduate students, we do a lot more reading of articles from the library rather than using textbooks. So for each module, each week, you'll have a list of articles that you should be able to retrieve from the library virtually online, and you'll be able to read the articles.
Great.
There might be one textbook, this textbook here, for graduate students, this textbook here, the APA 7th edition, Tricia will need to get this book because you read your, write your papers according to APA formatting. So this is a good textbook to get, but otherwise, usually it's articles that you obtain for your readings are from the library. They're usually 10-page articles rather than buying a $150 textbook.
Great. Another question here from, Evans. Program as in thesis. I'm not sure.
Oh, Evan asked a question. I think, Thomas,
is that regarding how you finish up the master program?
His question was about electives, and I wasn't sure which program he was in, whether it was undergraduate. I think maybe Evan can, let me just find the question. The question was, would he be able to take electives in the first year of the program?
Okay.
I think Evan's a graduate student. So you wouldn't be taking an elective until the summer of, you'd be taking 2 core courses in the fall, 2 core courses in the winter semester, and then you'd start with your first elective in the in the summer of 2021. So Okay.
Another question here from Tricia. Could you please describe the distribution of individual work / assignments and group work / discussions in the graduate program? So how much are you doing as an individual? How much is as a group? Is it approximately 50-50 or one more than the other?
I can really answer that question because it depends on the professor who's teaching the course, right? So how much discussion and how much group work is an individual professor decision. So
is it fair to assume that there's more individual work now that it is virtually seeing that it might be a little difficult getting together as a group when you're spread across time zones and so on?
That would be a good assumption to
Yes.
make, I would say, yes.
Okay.
I know I'm teaching one of the courses that Trisha's going to take, and really the group work in my course is the discussions that occur. So you're not actually, you're responding to other people, you're on the what's called the discussion forum, you're typing your discussion in there and answering questions in there and participating that way. It's not really a group assignment where you would need to meet Sally at a particular time virtually. That's not really, we try to make it nimble, we try to make it easy. So we don't want to put any kind of things where put constraints on you where it's difficult to do the assignment because you haven't been able to meet up with Sally, you know. So.
Right. Right. Okay. Just a reminder to everybody here, if you guys want to ask a question live, you can do that by raising your hands in the, it should be available in the console, and I will unmute you guys if you wanted to ask your question live. So Randall here got back and he said he'd applied for practical nursing. So I know we're still waiting to send out CLOAs for practical nursing, I believe. Do we know when we will move ahead?
I know the faculty are reviewing the applications. I think they've just started.
Okay.
It was a question of needing to finish up some other work, and so it should be soon.
Fantastic. So Randall, you should hear from us very soon here. Let me see if I have any questions that I skipped here. Oh, we got one new one here. Oh, no, that was just a thank you. So that's about it when it comes to questions here. So do you guys have some remarks that you want to finish up with here, and a message to the students that are joining us in September?
No, I think I will just reiterate what I said at the beginning, that we are excited to have you. We're looking forward to it. And I think, as Elizabeth said, what you need is the basics of the ability to connect online, and your enthusiasm and your motivation, and you're ready to dive into graduate school. And I think, or the undergraduate program, whatever you're looking at. And I think you'll find that TRU, I think, particularly has such a rich history of online education that we've been, I think it's that gives us a really, really good foundation to have switched over completely in this pandemic to as much online as possible. And we're also, the things that will happen in terms of our labs and our practicums, we're actually running labs and practicums now. So in the summer, we have different programs. We have a program that is, return to registered nurse practice, for example. So those students are in the lab now. And so we're also figuring out how to do it in a way that is effective, that is, not too demanding. We're still following all of the guidelines, but even in the current environment, how can we make lab learning effective and fun and all of those kinds of things? The same thing with our practicum situations. We're working constantly with our practice partners. So I think having had the time over the summer to be able to actually test out some of what we want to do in the fall is also giving us a lot of confidence in terms of we're very comfortable moving into the new environment. And I think the students will find that when they start here in the fall.
Terrific, thank you. Elizabeth, do you have anything here on the?
The only thing that I can, my closing remarks are focused on the graduate students, and the graduate students who are admitted to our program or will be admitted to our program starting in September. I will be contacting you to meet with you virtually face-to-face or by telephone, preferably, and at the least preferable would be emails, but I'm going to be touching base with you and answering any burning questions you have at the beginning of August before we start the program in September.
Great. We had one last question come in here from Anukul. He's he or she is asking, are you providing trial classes before joining fall 2020 classes? So on behalf of TRU World, I can say that we are putting on some classes for students on how to put up or set up an effective study environment and study skills when it comes to studying online. I don't know if the School of Nursing will have anything before the end of before September,
No.
but TRU World will have some classes on how to be more effective studying virtually. So when it comes to a couple of items here from us, please do keep an eye on your emails. There is a ton of good information going out, and we will be in touch throughout the summer as things progresses, or things may be changing. There will be a survey going out, or maybe it has already gone out, asking you about your intentions for September and kind of what support services you need from Thompson Rivers University. So please do take the time to answer that questionnaire so we know how to support you in September. And then just to reiterate that there will be courses over the summer here on how to set workshops, I guess they will be, on how to study effectively virtually come September. So thank you very much for calling in. It's been a real pleasure, and I hope all of our students had a chance to ask the questions that they might have for September.
And Thomas, if I may just add one thing, if any student has a question, please, as Thomas has said, reach out to either TRU World or to the School of Nursing, directly, and just send us an email. Our staff and our faculty are really responsive. So if you weren't able to ask something, or if something comes to mind, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Come in with the mindset that this is going to be a successful journey.
Never feel that pressure on the first day that you have to know what you want to do right then and there, because you'll change your mind all the time. Go to class. That's always a good thing.
TRU actually offers a platform for everybody to showcase whatever they know.
Be yourself.
University is a place where you can become yourself, break out of your shell.
Actually, my biggest advice is to talk to your teachers.
Don't be afraid of us faculty. Come and see us.
Oh, don't be afraid to talk to people. Just talk to anyone, because there's everyone in the same position as you are.
Try to get everything you can from that student experience you have, because it's just 4 years of your life.
It is not just going to be learning in class, it's going to be learning about who you are.
Use this place and get everything you can from it.